Hey guys, and welcome back. So ZABBIX has actually changed quite a lot in all of the recent versions, starting from 3 dot something, and the front end has become something you might not even recognize anymore if you're coming from the old version. So I decided to make a new video about the ZABBIX frontend, all of the sections you can find here, and what exactly you can find inside those sections. So I am logged in as a super admin, which means I can see absolutely everything that's present in the front end, which basically contains the sections as a dashboard, monitoring services, inventory, reports, data collection, alerts, users, administration, and in the bottom we more or less have informative tabs like the support options, integration page, help, user settings, and just sign out. So the first one is a dashboard, and a dashboard is, well, as it stands for, the dashboards where you can create as many of them as you need, including all sort of different information, comparing to the very old versions of the ZABBIX where the dashboard was basically predefined. Right now you can create all sort of different widgets yourself, add some filters, and create some all sort of different visualizations, and basically create the dashboard as you want it to see, and you can have as many of them as you want. And you can also delegate the permissions just to make sure that people who you want to see this information will be able to see that. And then that's your single pane of glass for everything that's happening in the monitored environment, and very often also visualized in some sort of the dashboards or on the big screens in the office for people to just be aware of what is happening. Then we have monitoring section, which also includes all sort of different options like problems, hosts, latest data, maps, discovery. But basically what's important is that monitoring is everything about visualization. Like you will not find any configuration options here. Is just visualizing everything that is happening right now in your environment. As example, monitoring problems has quite extensive filtering options so that you can filter out about what exactly are you interested. Perhaps you are about Windows servers or some MySQL databases or something else if we're talking about host groups. And then you can find what kind of problems are happening right now. So I, on my this default information, have 3 problems active. ZABBIX agent is not available on the Linux server manual, Linux server, and a ZABBIX server host. So 3 hosts and 3 problems about unavailable ZABBIX agent. And that's what you can find here. Just overall information about all of the triggers, all of the problems happening in your environment, and all of the filtering options are making this much more convenient, like to not see a bunch of the mess, especially if we're talking about production environments. You could have like hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands different triggers, but you can filter out what you exactly are looking for. If we talk about a monitoring host, it's kind of the same as we had monitoring problems about the triggers. Then hosts is about the host itself. So as I previously mentioned, I myself have 3 hosts, and here are their names, the interface IP addresses, availability. And as we can see, all 3 of them are not available. If you click here, you will find at least the error message why it's unable to connect to the ZABBIX agent, some tags that are being used on this host, status enabled or disabled. And we also have a couple of the shortcuts where you can go to the latest data, which is the next section in this video, then the graphs and the dashboards as well. So the dashboards can be in this dashboard sections, but you can also create a dashboards underneath the hosts directly. And also you can see the number of the problems that these hosts right now have. And if you remember that here under the problems, we had three different problems, and here we have 3 hosts, and in each of it, we have 1 single problem. Monitoring latest data, it is kind of raw information about everything that is happening in your environment right now, what kind of items there are, and what kind of received metrics you are getting. So I don't really have the values here because all of my hosts are not functional at the moment. But basically here, again, you need to use filtering because it's not going to be a good idea to see all of the latest data for all of the monitored environment. Again, if we're talking about a production, but you can filter out some hosts and check specifically, okay, like what's the CPU nice time as example, and then visualize that stuff on the graph when you're actually receiving the data. Or for the text items, you can just switch to the history and it's also going to be here. What's useful here, in my personal opinion, is to have this checkbox ticked as show details. And when you click apply, what it gives us is this green line underneath the name of the item, which basically creates a shortcut. So how it usually goes is like when you try to add some new items, some new monitoring, you create an item. Then obviously you go to the monitoring latest data because you want to check what kind of data is being received. And sometimes there's nothing received, and maybe even item is not supported. And if you have the show details ticked, then not supported items will actually appear as a not supported, and you will see the error message here, why. And what's better, you can also, oh no, you cannot anymore. So you can from here go directly to the item configuration and then presumably fix the mistake that has been made. And again, of course, use the filtering, search by the tags as example, or host groups, or hosts, or directly some items as example, memory. And there we go, we have only 4 items from the memory. In the monitoring maps, you will find your network maps, and this is the functionality that's present in the ZABBIX for quite a long time. By default, you have this one local network map, which is not too pretty and not too good to visualize anything, but all of you have the options to create your own network maps where you can visualize all of the hosts that you have, show some data from the items, show the status of the triggers, and overall make it something like a dashboard basically, but just you can include some network topology or stuff like that, and then it's going to be meaningful. And you can also include the network maps in the dashboard itself, so that can be just one single widget where you show your maps. If we talk about a monitoring discovery, this basically is the result of network discovery. We're not talking about a low-level discovery, we're talking about the network discovery, which is discovering the host. As example, you specify the subnet, whatever IP address /24, and let's say you want to check it for some specific ports, and if the values are like this, then you want to create a host automatically. And here in this monitoring discovery page, you will find all of the IP addresses that are actually tried to be discovered and the results of all the checks. And then you can try to understand whether or not it should be created as a host or not. That's closing our monitoring section. The next one is services. And about the services, there's basically all of this is related to SLA monitoring. And previously in the older versions, I don't even remember right now how it was called. It was IT services, I think. So now it's just services. And all of this is related to monitor your SLA based on the triggers, based on the hosts and items that you already have. And then you can have like a SLA report where you can see like 99% or something. Visualization options of SLA is not too great, and overall I would not say that this is like super popular feature for the ZABBIX. Technically it might be good, visualization not so much, but it's here. So if you want to monitor also SLA and have SLA reports, then this is the place for you. Inventory, basically when you're monitoring something with a ZABBIX, you're creating items. An item is designed to collect the data. Like there could be item for the system CPU load, item for a free memory, disk space, service running or not, GPS location, the vendor, and so on. For all of those items, you can also specify that this item will populate the host inventory mode, and for each host, you can define that, okay, this one is going to have, this item is going to populate like location latitude. Another item is going to populate location longitude. And basically, so you have items that you're monitoring as the latest data, and also the values that you are collecting are populating some inventory fields. And inventory fields for the host are hard-coded. Let me try to show you here in the inventory section. So here they are. And for all of the items that you can have, you can assign and say, okay, this item is going to populate the value for the serial number B or A or whatever. And then inventory page here, overview and hosts, is the place where you can see all of those collected values for inventory grouped by the host as example, right? So that's for inventory. Reports kind of says what it is. Here you can get all sort of different reports. This is kind of system information. You can also include this as a widget in a dashboard, which basically just says whether your ZABBIX server is running or not, what's the current version, what's the latest version, software update, latest release, number of templates, items, triggers, so on and so on and so on. And don't fall for a full required server performance new values per second. This is not the actual size of your ZABBIX environment. This is only calculated and VPS based on the update intervals of your items. But if you are looking for the actual value for processed VPS by your server, then it's better to look on the ZABBIX server host in the latest data, not in this report. Scheduled reports, this is something you can create yourself right here. And basically, it's going to take a screenshot of the dashboards that you have here in the first section that we looked at and create a screenshot and send this PDF to the persons that you specify when you're creating reports. So you kind of just send it via the email. Availability report is just the percentage of all sort of different triggers where you can filter by host groups, hosts, that will show you percentage of when they were in a state okay, so not a problem, and when they were in a state problem. Top 100 triggers, well, pretty much descriptive. Just select a period and possibly also add host group, host, or problem itself, and it will show top 100 triggers that are actually flickering, like how many times they're switched from the okay state to the problem state. Audit log. So the audit log is the place where you're going to see everything that happened within your ZABBIX frontend. Like, I am right now the only user who has access to this instance, but normally in production, again, you will have multiple users, different user groups, different responsibilities. And here you will be able to see like who did what. As example, who deleted the host, who created an item, who deleted action, and stuff like that. Action log, well, the log for the actions. And actions are something you execute automatically, something that ZABBIX executes when the trigger goes to the problem state, or let's say the new active agent registration happens, or a new host is discovered through the network discovery. Maybe you want to send an email that this and that happened. Maybe you want to execute some sort of remote command. Nevertheless, all of those stuff are going to appear here in the action log. And in the notifications, it's basically grouped whether daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, where you can also filter out by some specific media type, as example, like email or Discord or Gmail or whatever you are using for your actions, and see for all of your users who actually received how many notifications in the selected time period. Data collection, this is the place where configuration happens. And first two are like the most straightforward, template groups and host groups. These are basically for the logical grouping of templates and for the host. So when you're creating a template, it must be part of some template group. When you're creating a host, it must be part of some host group. And previously in some older versions, there were no template groups, so there were just host groups. And even if you created a template, you had to specifically assign it to the host group. So here in the template groups, you even can see that, okay, we have a template group, templates cloud, and here all of these gray ones are the actual templates that are inside this group. So for logical grouping, templates. A list of all the templates that you have in your ZABBIX out of the box, and all of these templates are basically assigned to out of the box monitor something that's usually in the name of the title, like .NET Cloud or AWS Lambda by HTTP, Azure Virtual Machines. If you want to monitor, you just create a host, assign this template, and this template will have already some predefined items, triggers, graphs, dashboards, low-level discovery rules. So the monitoring is kind of happen out of the box. With the only thing that you need to consider, template might have out of the box items, but there still must be done some configuration for this template to work, which usually is in the template macro tab. So as example, access key ID, assume role ARN, whatever it is. This is something you need to provide yourself. And well, yeah, take a look on other macros as well. For every template, it's going to be different macros. And data collection hosts, previously it would be configuration hosts, is the list of the hosts. And the hosts are our data sources. Like we could have Linux server, we could have some HP printer, we could have MySQL server, WordPress site, whatever. All of the data sources where we have a host, and on the host we'll have items and triggers and graphs and other stuff. And items are basically the metrics that we're collecting, and triggers are some expressions that will tell us when it is a problem or when it's not. Maintenance, two types of the maintenance available, with data collection or without data collection. Those are the planned stuff, like you can create them as much as you need here. And here are the two types. And basically, like if you know that there's going to be some scheduled downtime in your data center or something like that, and you don't want to receive 5,000 of problems from your ZABBIX, you just create a maintenance period and say, okay, that's expected stuff. We're fine with that. Event correlation. Event correlation is a feature inside the ZABBIX, but it's not too good. So I would personally not recommend to use it. But basically, you can do some stuff based on the events that happen, right? So event is every time something happens with a host, with a trigger, like it goes to the problem state, new event is generated, and you can create some rules saying like, okay, if these two events happen, I want to do something, right? But this does not work well in the productions, in a large scale environment. So right now, I would not recommend to use this functionality. Just wait for the better implementation of it. Data collection discovery. Remember, we talked about monitoring discovery. So data collection discovery is the place where you actually configure those network discovery rules, where you provide the IP range, interval, how often this will happen, and then all sort of different checks that will happen. Then alerts, actions. Actions have also all sort of different like options, like trigger actions, service actions, discovery actions, and basically those are different sources. Like if we talk about the triggers, well, it means that when the trigger will go to the problem state, the action will be executed. If we talk about service actions, then we're talking about SLA. Discovery, network discovery. Auto registration for active agent. Internal actions, item became not supported, or host became unavailable, something happens. What happens? You define whether it's going to be some message, email, message in a Telegram or WhatsApp, or some remote command executed, or maybe the service is down and we're trying to bring it up again. Or if we're talking about discovery or auto registration, then maybe we want to create a host automatically and link a template and start monitoring also automatically. Alerts media types, these are available out of the box. Like if you have Slack or Signal or Topdesk or Telegram or Jira, you don't need to think about, okay, how can I integrate ZABBIX with this piece of software, because the integration is already done. Feel free to enable it. Again, provide the required information as here in the parameters, like bot token, and what else do we have? ZABBIX URL, and that's it. You are able to use it inside the actions for the notifications. Like maybe you don't want to send an email, you want to send a message in a Discord server or Slack. Scripts, those would be the front-end scripts. So from the monitoring section, from the problems page, and also from the dashboards, from the widgets, you can execute all of the scripts located here. Like by default, you have detect operating system, ping, traceroute, and you can create your own script to do some stuff, usually on the end host. Like if we're monitoring Linux server, some problem happened on this Linux server, so we can execute this command here that we specify when creating the script on the host where the problem happened. Users, place where you have an option to configure all of your user permissions, user groups. So user groups, all of the permissions in the ZABBIX are basically delegated not on a user level, but on the user groups. Then there are user roles where you have an option to make even more granular permissions, because if we talk about the users, there are 3 different roles. Guest is a guest. Then user, admin, and super admin. User basically can see only visualization menus. Admin can see also configuration like data collection and alerts, and super admin can see also administration tab. But the user roles, what they allow you is to say like, okay, this guy can have access to data collection hosts, but he will not be able to change templates or stuff like that. API tokens, well, for API access, right? You just create tokens here, and authentication is the general settings of how you allow authentication to your ZABBIX frontend, where it's going to be through HTTP or LDAP or SAML settings, or you want to enable MFA as example. All of the configuration is done here. Then the last part is administration. Under the general, I would say that you can find here everything that did not have a good place in any other places in any other sections, like the graphic user interface, how much search and filter results you're going to show in a page, what's the max number of columns and rows in overview tables, auto registration. So by default, do you enforce encryption or not? What else we have? Timeouts divided on the item types. You can specify them here. Images that are available out of the box. And if you want, you can create new images and use them in the network map. So kind of all of the configuration, right? Audit log, that's just the place. Remember, in the monitoring, there was a section where you can see it. In administration audit log, there's a section where you can enable or disable it and configure for how long time period you actually want to keep it. Housekeeping settings, how long you want to keep the history and information about events and alerts, and information about the services, user sessions, and trends as well. Audit log sessions here. Proxy groups, if you want to have proxy groups for proxy high availability and load balancing, you create them here. Individual proxies you create here. Administration macro, those would be the global level of the user macros, and there are 3 levels of them. First of all, first level is a host, then the template level, then the global level in administration section. So here, if you want, you can create new ones. And a queue. Queue is the place where you will see number of delayed items grouped by the type. Here you can see the overview by the proxy. And in the queue details, you will see the exact items directly here. So items that values are expected based on the configuration, but they have not arrived, which basically means that there is some either misconfiguration or some network issues or some performance issues with the ZABBIX, but that's a good place to check whether or not something is not good. So that's that. We went through all of the pages. I hope this was useful for you. Most likely in the beginning of the ZABBIX journey. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you later.